What if I told you I went from a grade 3 to a grade 9 in GCSE Chemistry, and I want to help you do the same? I know the exam is soon, but there's definitely still last minute things that you can do to increase that grade. And I want to help you get the best grades possible in today's episode of Sustainable Study Secrets. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another video where I'm giving you my last minute tips for GCSE Chemistry. As you can see, slightly new environment. I just got home from university, and while I've got a bit of free time, I want to give you some advice on how you can do well in all of your GCSE subjects. So be sure to subscribe because I'm going to be making these videos for every single one of your GCSEs every single day. Without further ado, let's kick off. I think the reason that I got a grade 3 in my mock exam is because I didn't understand those fundamentals of chemistry. There's also because I wasn't listening. You need to start from the basics in this subject. If you have a core misunderstanding of, okay, what is an atom? What is a proton? What is an electron? What is a neutron? You're not going to be able to understand bonding of any sort. And if you can't understand bonding, you can't go on to the next topic. You need to cover topics in chronological order, otherwise they're not going to make sense. So if you've got a core misunderstanding from the start of year 10, work on that first and you will see everything else kind of falls into place. It's as if you've got the bare bones structure of a lot of different topics, but you don't thoroughly understand them. But given you've got those bare bones structures, okay, you might have been told what electrolysis is, but you don't thoroughly understand it. When you've got that core understanding, it sort of fills in the gaps, I guess, and you've been taught, you've got knowledge, it just starts to make sense. That is my biggest piece of advice. Start from the things you misunderstood first. Next thing you need to do is practice paper questions. Everybody says it, but let me tell you why you need to do this. There are a variety of reasons, but understand that you can understand absolutely everything on that specification and still come out with a grade 5. If you don't know how to answer the exam questions, you don't know how to maximize your marks by knowing the same amount of things, and you don't know how to speak in the scientific terminology that they want to see in that exam. So, for example, you can spend 5 minutes writing a 2-mark question by repeating the information the question said. So you could be talking about a core fractal, say, in order to increase the rate of reaction, I decided to increase the surface area because of this. If the question is to describe why increasing surface area increases the rate of reaction, you don't need to waste your time explaining basically the question back to the examiner. You should use the words of the question, but you don't need to waste time writing lines and lines and lines of working. When you can be concise, you can be clear, and you can save your time and you bank up time to spend on the longer answer questions, on those questions you need to think on more, and to check your paper at the end. Doing practice paper questions as well, you learn that scientific terminology they want to see, and it is always incredibly particular. They will say in the mark scheme of many, many questions, do not accept this. Whereas you've demonstrated you understood, you've got the core ideas, but you've not given it in the language that they want to see, and that is the problem. Next, those maths questions, you can only get better at them by practicing. It's a good 20% of the GCSE, and you need to know what is concentration, how do you work out moles, how do you do these calculations, and how can you lay out your work? Because if you don't write down the formula, don't show yourself putting numbers into the formula, and you just write an answer, if that answer is right, you can still get the marks, but if it's wrong, then you've got no marks. Whereas if you bang down the formula and you show each line of working, you will get the marks. You will get marks even if the final answer isn't right, because you've got method marks. They see that you're trying to apply this method. As well as this, timed conditions are so important. I was spending so long on the 6-mark answer questions, and not only that, I was answering them wrong. I thought there was just a template 6-marker. I could just bang down the same sort of answer for every question. You absolutely can't. You need to use the command words. They'll have completely different command words. So like assess, evaluate, calculate. You need to answer these questions in a completely different way. And if you do enough practice questions, you'll see in the mark scheme how they are answered. Describe, you've got steps of a process. Assess, you've got sort of pros and you've got cons. Compare, you've got elements of each thing being compared to each other in the mark scheme, and you'll understand how you answer these questions concisely if you do the practice. Flashcards. I feel like everybody talks about flashcards for science, but they don't really talk about why. I do not think you need a flashcard for everything. Like I was saying earlier, you have very basic knowledge that things build upon. I'm not being funny. If I'm completely happy with covalent bonding, ionic bonding, I don't need a flashcard that tells me what an electron is. Unless it's a definition that I just can't seem to remember, that if I got a 1 mark question and I couldn't answer what an electron is, I don't need a flashcard on that. I do, however, probably need a flashcard on define an exothermic reaction or an endothermic reaction, just because I don't remember that stuff. Like, I would be able to describe what it is, but I wouldn't be able to give it in clear, concise, and scientific terms. And if you can't do that, you will not get those short answer questions. You need to be incredibly clear and give the examiner what they want to see. I know I'm going back on myself a little bit here, but I was talking about practice paper questions. Maths questions in particular, you need to understand what you're doing and why. Because oftentimes they won't say, okay, work out moles. They'll ask you to do something else where you need to utilize that equation. Hence, you need to understand why you are doing what you are doing if you want to get those marks. And understanding why you're doing the maths is fundamental because A, it helps you understand the equations better, and B, it helps you remember them better, and C, it allows you to apply them in a range of different settings, which is what people tend to really struggle with, and that is what distinguishes a grade 9 student from a grade 7 student. A grade 7 student can apply them, they've memorised them, they know how they work, but they don't understand why they're doing them. If you don't understand why, then you can't apply it to new settings, and that is how the exam boards know this, and they do this on purpose because they want to determine, okay, who thoroughly understands chemistry and who deserves that grade 9. Hot take, core practicals are easy marks. Just know them, memorise them, memorise the method, memorise the key outcomes, what you did, even if you didn't do the core practicals. I didn't even do the core practicals because we didn't have a proper chemistry teacher. That's why I was so bad at it. If you know the outcomes and the process, you can still get the marks. And just remember them, use flashcards, understand why you're doing what you're doing because it relates so much to the theory. Tie it in with the areas of the specification that you're doing in the core practical. I genuinely think when you get questions on core practicals, they are some of the easiest marks that you can get. And for peace of mind, I would recommend watching a whole course review video before the exam. There are so many different ones. I really like the science short ones and the Primrose Kitten ones, but a range of different YouTubers have them. I've got a whole video on recommendations for every single one of your GCSEs for different whole course review videos that you can watch. I always say when you're revising, you need to work on your weakest areas. That is absolutely true. But for me, for peace of mind, okay, yeah, I knew I was really happy with electrolysis. I completely understood it. It was not something that I was weaker on. I was focusing a lot of my time on balancing equations, you know, working out moles and figuring out what a mole was. I didn't find things like bonding electrolysis too difficult, but having that peace of mind that I got over it at least once before the exam, I would basically wake up early in the morning and watch a whole course review video before the exam, so just so that everything was fresh, because having peace of mind can make you perform better as well. I think that is one of the things that makes people underperform. If you don't have the satisfaction, I haven't gone over ionic bonding for 5 weeks, you might freak out in the exam, and freaking out is going to make you perform worse. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next episode of Sustainable Study Secrets, where I'm going to give you my top tips for all of your other GCSE exams. Best of luck, and I'll see you later. Bye guys!